Fired, hired, and controversy mired. All that and much more coming up on 5 Things Sports. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching. I'm glad you're watching. I'm Caroline Haney with 5 Things Sports, bringing you 5 sports highlights for the weeks of November 20th through December 3rd, 2017. Sorry I missed last week. I was a bit under the weather, but I'm here with the 5 highlights for the past 2 weeks, so let's get started. So a lot has happened in the world of college football in the last 2 weeks. So let's jump right into what you need to know. On Thanksgiving weekend, number 1 Alabama was upset by Auburn at Auburn. This upset cost Alabama their number 1 seed and a trip to the SEC championship. So Auburn goes to the SEC championship and plays Georgia, who they beat just a few weeks ago. However, Georgia comes out with the W this time, defeating them 28-7. This gives Auburn their 3rd loss on the season and knocks them out of the running for the playoff. Also on Thanksgiving weekend, number 2 Miami lost to unranked Pitt. Now, luckily for Miami, they were already qualified for the ACC championship, so they played Clemson there this weekend. Let's just say Clemson stomped Miami in the ACC championship, defeating them 38-3. 2 losses 2 weeks in a row. This also disqualifies Miami from the championship. And number 1 seeded Clemson is in a great spot for the playoff. Other conference champions were Oklahoma, who defeated TCU in the Big 12 championship 41-17. And Ohio State beat number 4 Wisconsin 27-21 in the Big 10 championship. The final playoff rankings list was released on Sunday afternoon, but really only the top 4 matter. Clemson at number 1, Oklahoma at number 2, Georgia at number 3, and Alabama at number 4. Clemson and Alabama will play in the Sugar Bowl in Atlanta on January 1st. And Georgia and Oklahoma will play at the Rose Bowl in LA also on January 1st. For more bowl game matchups, be sure to check out the 5 Things Sports Twitter. We have some of them posted there. So with college football wrapping up, that brings us to a new segment that I'd like to call Fired and Hired. This season, we've already told you about several college coaches getting fired, like Jim McElwain at Florida, Butch Jones at Tennessee, Jim Mora at UCLA. Now we can also add Kevin Sumlin at Texas A&M, Mike Riley at Nebraska, and Brett Bielema at Arkansas to the list. Which brings us to the hired portion of the segment. Nebraska has hired Scott Frost of UCF. He's had a great run there, taking them from an 0-12 team to a 12-0 team in just 2 years. In the surprise of the week, Jimbo Fisher has decided to leave Florida State for Texas A&M. Dan Mullen of Mississippi State is headed to Florida. To replace Mullen, the Mississippi State Bulldogs hired Joe Moorhead, of Penn State offensive coordinator. And UCLA has hired former Oregon coach Chip Kelly. And in one of the craziest stories I've ever seen in football surrounding a coach being hired and fired, Tennessee has taken their situation from absolutely bad to worse in just a matter of weeks. Of course, they fired Butch Jones several weeks ago, and last week they were set to make the announcement that they were going to hire Ohio State assistant coach Greg Schiano. However, then the fans revolted, and they protested, they tweeted. What's the big deal about Schiano? Well, he has been loosely connected to the Jerry Sandusky scandal from 2011 and 12. If you don't remember who Jerry Sandusky is, just a quick refresher. He was a longtime assistant coach at Penn State, and in 2011 he was charged with 52 counts of sexual misconduct with young boys. Apparently this was going on for years. The school knew about it and covered it up. Certain officials did at least and covered it up. They were also charged. It forced longtime Penn State coach Joe Paterno out, and then he passed away. It was really just a heartbreaking situation all the way around. So when some of the court documents from the investigation and trial for Sandusky were released in 2016, Greg Schiano's name appeared in some of those documents. One of the witnesses said that someone told them that Schiano might have seen something when he was also an assistant at Penn State. It was a very inspecific reference. He was never investigated. He was never called to testify. He has come out and said that he did not know anything about Sandusky. Ohio State and Penn State both came out and said in their investigations they found nothing to link him to it. So it really looks like a case where the fans really jumped to a big conclusion. There are rumors that some of the fans just didn't want him and then used this as a way to get rid of him, and it actually worked. Not only did Tennessee terminate the contract they had pending with Schiano, but they also fired their athletic director, John Curry. So in order to smooth things over with the fans and make some forward progress on their coaching search, Tennessee has hired Phil Fulmer, former coach and beloved by the fans, as interim athletic director. Unfortunately for Tennessee, they're going to have to put a lot of money on the table at this point to get a coach that would be interested in a fan base that is so volatile. At number 3 this week, after 10 months away from the game, Tiger Woods is back again. Tiger made his return at the Hero World Challenge tournament, which he hosts in the Bahamas. He did manage to post 3 under par rounds and finish 9th in a field of 18 players. Only time will tell if this return will hold out or if his back and his game start to fail again. Number 4 this week, Lionel Messi received his 4th Golden Shoe award. This ties him with Cristiano Ronaldo as for the most all time. The Golden Shoe is awarded to the leading scorer in the European Soccer League matches. Messi also finally signed his contract with Barcelona. The new contract has him with the club until 2021 and has a €700 million buyout. Number 5 this week. Just a few weeks ago, I told you about Eli Manning tying big brother Peyton for the most consecutive starts as a quarterback. Since then, Eli has passed his brother. However, the streak did end this week. On Sunday, the 2-9 Giants decided to bench Eli and start former Jets quarterback Geno Smith. This decision was met with outrage from fans and former players and analysts alike. Hall of Famer Michael Strahan and former teammate of Eli Manning coming out saying this was a classless move by the Giants. You can hear more about what Strahan had to say on the 5 Things Sports Twitter. Things didn't go quite that well for Geno Smith in the game against the Raiders. He had 2 fumbles in the first half, was 21 for 34, and had about 200 yards passing. The Raiders took home the 24-17 win. Things just aren't looking good for the Giants. Giants coach Ben McAdoo was fired on Monday, but in the opinion of many fans, this was just too little too late. Hopefully they can smooth things over with Eli. Again, we'll have to wait and see, so stay tuned to 5 Things Sports. That's all for this week's episode of 5 Things Sports. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit that like button or subscribe if you haven't already. If you missed the episode from 2 weeks ago, you can check that out right here. And again, thank you for watching. I'm Caroline Haney with 5 Things Sports, and I'll see you next week.